Hey, thanks for checking out the video. I am today going to go through something, I don't know, it's an experiment. We're going to try it out. So I'm going to build something live. It's not going to be super complex, but it's going to be fun. I'm just going to kind of go through a process of building something that I want created. I don't know if other people want it, but I do. And so that's the whole point, is I'm going to go through and create something. So the idea to start off with is, have you seen those looper stations, it's not a pedal, but a looper station where you press a button, you record a sound, musicians use this, and then you press it again, and then it kind of loops through it. If you know Marc Rebillet, he is the master of the loop station. And so I dabble in some music, and if you are a musician or you know one, you know that they have this problem called gear acquisition syndrome. It means that we always want more gear. And in this instance, I'm gonna hold back. I'm gonna say, all right, I don't need a loop station. I probably won't use it that much. I would like to play with one, but I don't really need to invest in one. And so instead, I'm gonna try to create one that I can then just use on my iPad or on my computer. And so I'm gonna code it up using AI. And in this instance, we're probably going to just start with v0 to kind of play around and prototype. I don't think we're going to get to the full production build in this video. I may go through that in an additional video, but today it's all about playing and creating something from scratch. So to start off with, we're just going to go through the overview of what we're trying to do. All right, so I'm going to write some stuff down. All right, looper station. And so if you don't know what it looks like, I'm going to show an image of one right now. You see it, you see the buttons, you see everything. We're going to do something similar, not quite the same. We don't want to copy exactly, but the concept and functionality will be there. All right, so what I want to do is basically I want to create tracks, but we're going to start with just one track, and this box is going to represent one track. And so in that track, we want a big old button. This is that I'm drawing here, and it is going to be basically a play/record button. And so if you press this button, it will start by recording. Start recording. Great. And then the second click or press or whatever will stop recording, and immediately, sorry if you can't read my handwriting, we're doing our best here. Immediately loop playback. All right, so that's the general concept here, is that I press the button, it starts recording, and I can lay down some beats, I can start singing, and then I click it again, and it immediately stops the recording and starts playing a loop of whatever I did. And so generally what people will do, they start with percussion, because that's the foundation of any song or rhythm. And then they may take it out later on, but they start with that, and then they lay that down, and then everything kind of plays off of that beat through everything else, whether I'm singing or harmonizing or playing a riff on a guitar or playing something on piano and so forth. So that's the idea. Now, there's two other pieces of core functionality for a track that we need. One is a stop button. I want to be able to stop this. So we'll put a stop button there. And so basically I press play, it starts recording, or starts the play record button, starts recording, and then immediately when I press it again, it stops recording, continues playing, looping until I hit the stop button. So this stops playback. All right, cool. And then I'm probably going to add in a settings button, a menu here, and that is going to have menu. We'll start with two things probably. I may not actually build this out initially, but one will be a volume level, and then the next thing will be a clear sound. Say I don't like that sound anymore. I just want to clear it, but I need to use that track for something else. So it'll delete the sound, and we can start over again recording something. So that's it. This is one track. All right. Eventually, we're going to need multiple tracks because we want to be able to stack different loops on top of each other. But to start off with, like, we just need the core functionality working. And so we're going to start with one track. And that's the general idea in terms of building stuff. I think it's how you build with engineering teams in general. It's how you build with AI. Is you start with the foundation of what's the core thing that we need to work and work well. And then once you have that, it's much easier to add on more functionality on top of something that is working. So, for example, maybe I want to do effects. I want to have some reverb. I want to make my voice sound really deep or really high pitched. I don't know, some other effects. And so maybe I want to add that on. But you know what? I can't add that on to something that doesn't loop and play back. And record. And so that is the starting point. And so we start with the smallest piece. I'm going to want to need multiple tracks, but to start with, I just need one track and one thing working. And then it's super easy to add on and copy it into multiple tracks and have multiple tracks playing back at the same time. So that's how we're going to start. And so I will use this image as a starting point to kind of lay out what we're trying to do. I'm probably actually going to just take out this stuff here, this menu, because it's just adding a little bit more complexity than I need. It's not necessary. It's not core to working it right away. Like, yeah, eventually I'm going to want to adjust the levels. But if I have one track, I don't really need to adjust the levels. I can just adjust the levels on my computer. Clearing the sound, like, we'll just refresh the page and, clear it out and so forth. But we'll add that in. But I think this core part is I need to press a button, record, and loop back. That's it. That's the main thing. And then want to be able to stop the sound. That's a pretty easy, straightforward thing for it to do. And then we'll go from there. So let's take this image and let's go into the building, prototyping, screwing around phase. All right, so we're in V0 from Vercel. And so the goal here is just to create a working prototype, to play around, understand what's possible, and just create something that works and functions as we want. And so we're going to go through it step by step. I already uploaded that image that we have that I drew on the iPad earlier. You can see it here. That's all I have in here. And we're going to kind of go through the process of what I would build first, how I would go through the process here. And at the end, fingers crossed, we have a working version of this looper. I don't know. We'll find out, hopefully. I'm sure we'll hit some snags along the way and some troubleshooting, but we'll go through it step by step. But yeah, so the initial plan is get one track working, and then we'll fix it, we'll adjust some things, we'll understand things I never even considered probably, and add some additional functionality, and then we might add that like additional functionality on the track, like the volume and clearing a track to the one track, and then the final plan is to expand it out into multiple tracks. We'll say 4 for today's thing. So that's the plan. I don't know if this is going to work. I tried this a little bit earlier. Didn't work. So who knows? But I think this time I'm going through a little bit more methodically through it. So let's have some fun. All right. So starting off, we got that screenshot in. I'm just going to type out kind of like how I would think about this. I usually break up these initial prompts into a couple things. One, the style, look, and feel of what I'm trying to do. I think the initial one really sets the tone for how this is going to look and feel, especially from a UI perspective. And so UI and UX. So I think like there's a couple things that we'll have the screenshot here. I'm probably going to actually add in some other things in to show the style and look and feel I want to go for. And then the next part is going to be just the core functionality that we're going to do. And then we'll let it rip. Let's see what happens and go from there. All right. So let's start with what it is. Say what it is, what the look and feel, what are the functionality. All right, so I want to build a looping looping station app Station. Ooh, we're gonna find out how well I type and spell here. Station app. Basically, I click a button and then it starts recording, and then I click it again and it will stop recording and start looping the playback. Cool. All right, so that's just like an overview of what it is I'm trying to do. I'll go into like, all right, click this button, do this, does it, like in a little bit here. All right, now I'm gonna do look and feel. All right, I wouldn't be a proper tech bro / musician production person if I didn't love teenage engineering. And so I'm going to make this like, what if teenage engineering came up with a looping station? So we'll start there. I want this to look like teenage engineering designed it. So super modern, subtle. I don't think that's how you spell subtle. Subtle, bright colors. I attached some images as a reference. All right, the basic functionality. I'll attach those images in a little bit. Let's go through typing it first. All right, so the basic functionality. Only make one track. We should, let's see, it per the attached screenshot, it should have one big button that has a play and record icon on it. When I click this button, it immediately starts recording. All right. When I click it again in recording mode, it stops recording and immediately starts looping the recorded sound. Great. It should also have a smaller stop button. And we'll say stop button. Clicking this stops the play back of the track. All right, cool. I think that's fairly encompassing of what we want to do. One track, attach the screenshots attached. It is here. When I click the button, it immediately starts recording. When I click it again, recording stops and immediately starts looping or playing the recorded sound. And then it should also have a smaller stop button. Clicking the stops the playback of the track. Great, simple, pretty straightforward. Let me add those two images on. Let's see, downloads. Let's teenage engineering. We can show you what those look like. If you don't know, kind of, modern, interesting, bright colors, mixed in subtly. So, all right, first off, I've actually really liked this enhanced prompt feature in V0. The reason why is I'm actually going to copy this whole thing just so I have it. The reason why is that it does a really good job of taking what I have as maybe a product person and turning it into functional requirements. And I think just like you would go translate that into like engineering requirements and like acceptance criteria of what you're looking for, this does a good job of like taking that and putting it into the right type of wording that the AI does well with. So let's go ahead and press that. All right. All right. And let's go ahead and do it. Let's do it. Fingers crossed. Let's see what happens. All right. It's thinking. It's seeing what I provided. It's telling me what it's going to do. And now it starts writing some code. All right, we're back into the regular speed of the code generation. I see it's doing this waveform visualizer. Not actually into that. I don't want a waveform visualizer. I just wanted the core functionality that was the stop, play, or like play, record, stop functionality. Okay, I think it did. It wrapped up. Actually, now looking at it, I don't hate the waveform. It might actually be good feedback and functionality as maybe I'm recording and as I am seeing it play back. So maybe it's not so bad. We'll see. We'll see what it does. All right, let's read through what it did and then let's play. Let's see what happens. All right, so basically, all right, this is what I said it would do. Looping station includes teenage engineering inspired design, a multifunctional main button that starts recording when clicked in idle state, stops recording and begins loop playback when clicked during recording, dedicated stop button. This immediately halts recording or playback, real-time audio visualization that changes color based on the current state, recording or playback, recording timer to track the length of the loop. Okay. Seems to be doing everything that I want it to do. Let's see if it actually works. All right, let's press play or press record. Hello, hello, hello. 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 All right, interesting. When it goes back through, I think the first time it went through, it seemed to be just the track that I recorded, but it almost like seems like there's a timing delay where it's almost creating like a delay echoey effect for every time through, and it feels like it's getting more and more off time, which is interesting. Interesting what it's doing there. Let's actually. I don't mind this little waveform thing. Actually, I think it actually is pretty valuable and pretty interesting. So I guess kudos to adding it in the end. But let's try to do it again. This is what actually it should, and I forgot to actually tell it to do this. It should, if I click it again now in a stop state, it should start playing, not recording. And then if I press it again, it should. The actual functionality should then go to an overdub. I don't actually want the overdub functionality. So I'm not sure if this recording, is it going to start a new thing? Is it clearing it? All right, let's click it and see. Hola, hola, hola. Hello, hola, hello, hola. Hola. Hello, hello, hola. All right, stop this. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, hello, hello. All right, let's doesn't hello, stop. Hello. Refresh this. All right, so unfortunately, all right, so it kind of did some type of overdub thing, but it seems like it's recording as separate things, and then you can only stop one of them. All right, so there's some things we got to work out. Cool. That's all to be expected. Look and feel not so bad. Doesn't I don't mind it. I think it actually looks pretty interesting. I like the waveform. Functionality, we just need to make some tweaks. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. Great. Let's do, so like, I really, generally how I try to think about this, I try to do one thing at a time. If I say like, let me give you a list of all the things wrong, sometimes doesn't do that well. So I'm going to do like, let's tackle one thing at a time. Here's one thing. After I click record, and then click again to start the looping. Each loop seems to be starting a playback, a new playback of the track, and they are then out of sync. So it sounds like an echo. An echo. It should only loop one version of the track over and over again. All right, I'm again going to do the enhanced prompt and see what it does. All right, sure, seamless loop back, but after the recording audio, the application to continue to loop the single recorded audio track without creating additional out of sync instances. Start from the beginning of the record each time. It completes the cycle, maintaining perfect synchronization. Should still provide immediate stop function for the audio playback. All right, sweet. Let's see what happens. All right, I think it did some things. Looks like it's refreshing. All right, find it. Proper audio resource management. Added proper cleanup of audio resources when stopping playback or unmounting. Sure, only one audio instance plays at a time. Implemented better error handling on audio operations. Seamless loop playback. Added proper configures for the audio element with loop equals true. Implementing proper resetting of playback position when stopped. Enhanced visualization. Okay. Had better synchronization, fade effects from all plug. Okay. Robust state management. I think that'll just help with the playback side. All right. Let's see. Does it work? Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, okay. Hello, hello, hello. All right, I don't want to make you listen to me saying hello, hello over and over again and over and over again. But a couple things I noticed. One, doing better. It's just the one track looping through. It's not doing that weird echoing thing, which I think was like they're starting multiple tracks playing back and forth. So that's good. The stop button works. Let's see what happens when I do this again. Just to we're going to capture, or not capture, but we're keeping a mental record of all the issues that we got to fix. So let's go record it again. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Okay, so it stopped. Bonjour, bonjour. So this is part of what I wanted to do. So it stopped doing that overdub thing, and that might have been related to the issue that I was doing before, was kind of continuing to play or create instances of the playback. We do have an error, and so I'm gonna audio playback error is trusted equals true. So it did just create a new version, so it kind of cleared out the old version and did a new one. I don't want it to do that. I do want it to play. If something is already recorded on this track, I want it just to be a play button and not a new recording. So I'll fix that after I fix this issue that we have in here. So let me go ahead and press fix with V0. All right, it looks like it wrapped up and is spinning up the preview. Hopefully it comes up. But while we're waiting for that, all right, it came up. All right, so improve audio format handling, change the audio recording format to audio WebM, which is more widely supported across browsers, enhance error handling, detailed error logging to help diagnose issues, add specific error handling for audio decoding failures, better playback initialization, autoplay policy handling, improve audio resource management. I'm going to hope this all works better, and let's just test it out. Hello, hello, hello. 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 It seems like it's doing that echoey thing again. So you see in the console, like it added some logging to kind of show you audio is loaded and can play through, and it's like so it almost does look like it's loading multiple times. Let's try again doing another thing over top of it. Bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour. Okay. Bonjour, bonjour. Cool. It's at least not doing the overdubby thing again, but it just seems like it's, it's almost still doing multiple tracks. Let's ask that again. Right. Let's enhance this prompt. I don't think this is the right way to describe it. All right, so kind of did similar thing before, and then had another error, and then we refixed that error, but then it might have reintroduced this. So let's see if this can fix it. One thing I think is important, and this is I'm hopefully demonstrating this as I go through this, is that I try to do one thing at a time, and like I'm not trying to talk about the other issues that I'm seeing. I'm just trying to get one specific thing fixed, and I think it's important to go through that process of one thing at a time, and then you move on to the next thing. And I think this is important in how you build products in general. I think, you get one thing working and then you add on functionality, or you fix other things, or you change other things. If you try to do a bunch of things at the same time, I don't know, I'm not a professional juggler. I don't know if you are, but I'm not good at juggling a bunch of things, and AI is not good at juggling a bunch of things as well. It just needs to be focused and pointed in a very constrained, defined direction. All right, it wrapped up. Let's see. Unified audio playback system, single audio source, now using only the web audio API for both playback and visualization, eliminating the duplicate playback that was occurring. Remove HTML audio element, completely remove the HTML audio element that was previously used alongside. Centralized audio context. Okay. Explicit cleanup, source node management, enhanced visualization integration, better error handling. All right. Hopefully that all combines into a working version. All right, let's see. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Hello, hello, hello. Let's stop. That's exactly what I want. I want it to just be one track playing and looping over and over again. And so let's just confirm if I press it again. Bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour. Bonjour, bonjour. All right. Sweet. So yeah, it seems like it's now doing exactly what I want. It's recording, playing, and looping through just one track. It seems clean. When I do it again right now, it's not overdubbing, it's just starting a new one. So I want to do one functionality change here before I move into the adding a couple different like volume and clearing track functionality. Let's do that, which is basically after a track is actually loaded and recorded here, I want it to instead this button be a play button. So let me go through that. And hopefully we can get it to work. All right. I want one functionality change. When after a track is recorded and stopped, recorded, when I click stop what does it call it? Call it like a primary button, or click the stop button, and it stops playback. The primary button should turn into a play button. And clicking it in this state should start the playback loop again. All right. I think that's clear. Let's enhance the prompt because it does better at doing that. Let's see what it says. Okay. I think that's generally right. Let's see. All right. I think we wrapped up. It's doing some adjusting here. All right. Cool. I modified enhanced state management, added pause state transition stop button now transitions to a pause state instead of idle. Primary button toggles between playing and pause states after recording. Play button when in the pause state. Pause icon when in playing state. Okay. Yeah, I think because I haven't added any overdub functionality, I think that's okay. And I don't think I'm going to add it for now. But we'll see. When in idle state. Okay. Loading recording icon when in recording state. Blue for paused. Green for playing, orange for idle, red for recording, says messages. All right, bottom to help guide people. Cool. All right, let's play. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. All right. And then if I press play, hello, 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 oh, hello, 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 hello. All right. All right. So I think that generally gets the vibe of what I'm trying to do. I could be, so yeah, I think that generally works. So cool. So now I have some other, so yeah, I have some other functionalities that I want to add on to. I think this gets the core functionality, which is I click here, start recording. Obviously, I need to now do that to refresh. I need to refresh the page in order to get to this state. So that's one thing. I want to add maybe a clear button to restart it back to this idle state to start recording again if I want to do that. And then yeah, I think that's one of the things. The other thing I want to do is add some type of indication of how far into the loop I am, what duration I am. And so I want some visual indication of that. And maybe that can be here at the bottom of the waveform visualizer. I'll see what happens. But first off, I just want a button to clear it. So, and let's enhance that prompt. See what it does to make it more clear in terms of requirements. And good. I love the fact that it goes through this process and adds all these things that are a little bit pedantic, but are really important to provide clear instructions. So love that. Great. Let's do it. All right, it did something. Button design and placement, location, bottom right corner, visual style, red with red text. Okay, I might change that later, or but we'll see. Functionality, complete reset, visual feedback. Cool. All right, let's try it out, and then it says no recording here. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right, that still works. Let's press play again. Hello, hello, hello. Pause still works. Cool. Hello, hello, hello. Cool. That all seems to work. And then let's see if the clear button works. All right, seems to work. Actually, I do want this to move up a little bit, but that's a design thing. Is it worth going into that? Right now, not worth it, but I probably would move it up here. And this is the thing that's like, I want to like keep in mind that when I think about this, I'm just trying to play with the functionality and try to get something working. And then like, if I actually wanted to build this out in a production version, I would probably go through a design process with this, and then two, I would build it in a different way. But this is just more about prototyping, playing around, kind of seeing what's possible, and going from there, and maybe finding out things that I didn't realize. All right, there's one last thing that I want to add, and that is a visual indication of how far into the loop we are. And so that's the one thing I'm going to try to add on, and then we're going to do let's expand it out to 4 tracks. But yeah, let's try doing that visual representation and go from there. But I think functionally this is working. It's working how I want it to. You know, maybe you're getting tired of me saying hello, hello over and over again, but maybe we'll try something more creative later on. All right, cool. Let's do this last thing, and fingers crossed it works. Enhance the prompt. All right. Let's fingers crossed it understands what I'm trying to do, and it does it. And then the last thing, let's make it more than 1 track. All right, you can see it's adding a new component, progress bar. Good, and makes sense to have it as a separate thing. So that's great. All right, I think it's done. All right, visual progress bar, styling, progress bar, design, dotted track, create a track, blah blah blah, playful stacks. I like the look of this. I think that makes sense. It kind of almost plays into like the beats. I don't know if it's going to sync up like that, and let's see what it does when I actually do it. But I like where it's positioned. I like how it looks from the beginning. Let's see what it does here. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Okay, it doesn't seem to be doing it. You know, I think it looks good, but let's try again. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Yeah, doesn't seem to be enhance this prompt. Whew. All right, so I end up having to go through troubleshooting for this progress bar way too many times. I didn't think this was going to be the most complex part of it. I actually thought this was going to be pretty straightforward, but every time I prompted and went through the process, kept coming up with the same thing. So we went through multiple troubleshooting steps first, just describing the problem. And then eventually we ended up having it add a bunch of console logs or data about the information that I was getting back. Was it getting the right information about the progress? Was it passing that back through the component? Everything it tried ended up resulting in the same thing. The progress bar wasn't working at all. And so eventually I ended up deciding to go back to the version that I had before the progress bar. I started working on it. I tried to even just going from that and adjusting and trying to start from that point. Eventually I forked this into its own separate project and was able to get to a point where we created a whole new version, and then from there was able to make some progress. So in here, I think you see right now, I forked it into a whole new project that's like version 1 of this. We went through the process, and eventually we get to here. All right, it's done something. All right, improve position calculation, enhance progress bar rendering, fix playback control. Let's see what happens. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Yes. Hello, hello, hello. All right, it is working. Hello, hello, hello. Finally, all right. Again. Hello, hello, hello. Let's see if I start again. Hello, hello, hello. Great, great. All right, so the last part I just want to do is take this, and instead of being 1 track, I want this to be 4 tracks, and so that I can loop 4 things together at the same time. Let's see how it does that. This actually, this is the part that I thought was going to be tricky, because we're breaking it down into a singular component, and then there's some things going on, but we'll see. All right, let's see what happens. I imagine it's going to make a component of this whole track as a singular thing, and then we'll be able to, like, you know, render 4, and then, you know, if I needed to render 5 or 6, I think that should be fairly easy and straightforward. Let's see what it does. All right, it's kind of just doing it all in here, which is fine. I'm not trying to control how this sets up, and I think this is the thing that I try to think about is this is just a playground. This is for me to figure out functionality, what's possible, what works, what things am I missing, and so forth. Oh, here. All right, now it's doing a track component specifically. What I would probably do is like look at this and learn from this, and then, you know, come up with a very specific design. I would come up with very specific features and functionalities, and then I would, you know, think about the components that need to be built, and then go forth and build those piece by piece into a more production ready. But I think this is a fun way to just play, prototype, see what's possible. And so that was the point of today, is to create this. Whew, what did it do? It made a lot of changes to the visualization here. Let's see if it works. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Bonjour. 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 Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right. It kind of works. We're not quite there, but it is independent. All right, so what I would generally do is I would actually go back again. This is not what I want. And yeah, things kind of look a little funky. This is not going to be easy for me to do live here. And so what's version 2? Is this the version that works? Bonjour. Bonjour. No, version 3 is the one that works. Version 3. All right. Hello. Hello. All right. That's the one we had working. Let's go ahead and fork from there. Create a new chat. Starting from version 4. This is the one that works. All I want to do is... all right. First, I just want to make it a component, because then it'll be easier. Once it's a component that works itself, and then it should be able to be easily duplicated. And this is probably how I should have done it, is making sure that it was a specific component track that can work independently, that works properly. And then when I say, hey, add multiple tracks and multiple instances of this track, that it will immediately be able to do that. So that's what it's doing now. It's just moving it over to its own component. All right, so we seem to not have that issue anymore. All right, let's see if it works still. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. All right, interesting. Okay, so what it did is when it created a component, it changed a little bit of the look and feel. The button's now a little bit more squished. I could go through that process and redo that. It's probably actually easier if I just went into the code and looked at the properties and made some changes that way versus trying to describe exactly that change. I added this functionality to enable me to add tracks. I have no idea. I said that I wanted to make a component so that it could add multiple tracks or could have multiple tracks in there, but I didn't actually have it add the multiple tracks. But it's interesting. Let me see what happens when I do that. All right, so it's created a new one. And so if I were to play that. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, 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 hello. All right. Hello, hello, hello. It's working. I could, now there's like a lot more functionality to make this really usable. And I think like, this is the thing, is like, this is the point where like I have something functioning. I can make some tweaks to the visualization, to the look and feel of it. But, and the other thing that I'm really going to want to need to do is be able to better sync up these tracks, because it's not just, you don't have the precision to press the button exactly at the very specific time. Sometimes there's some give to be able to match it by beat, and be able to kind of do some of that work. And so there's some synchronization. Generally what happens, that adds it's a whole nother complexity here, which is like the first track will kind of drive the loop from there on out, and then everything else just kind of almost automatically records or loops based on the duration of that. And so everything syncs up with the start of that loop. And so that's yeah, or a multiple of it. So if it goes beyond, then it just goes to the next version. So say this is 2 seconds. So if I, for example, if I were to record it for under 2 seconds, it would just default to 2 seconds. If I were to record it for 3 seconds, it would default to 4 seconds, because it's 2 times the duration of this first one. These are some intricate logic that I'm going to want to need to put in here. I would probably not do this in V0. This is the point where I would take it, connect it to GitHub, download the code, get it into Cursor or Windsurf, go through the text editing process, and then be able to then, plan out some things and go through how I would actually implement this more not advanced, but like some more structure to this. Right now, it's a great way to say, all right, I've got something where I have multiple tracks. I've played around with it. I actually kind of like this, like add tracks, and I can decide how many tracks I want. Do I want 1? Do I want 2? Do I want 10? Maybe, like, that's the beauty of it being software. I can continue to evolve. I can change the layout here. Do I want them all this way, or do I want them to actually, be in a different format and so forth? But this is where we got to, which is pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with the look and feel of it. I'm pretty happy with how everything kind of turned out and that it actually operates and so forth. So, cool. All right, don't go anywhere. I've been playing around with some more and I have some thoughts. So this is the fun part about building a working prototype, is that as you play around with it, you realize what tweaks or things that'll make it usable. So like if I were to try to use this now, and I won't subject you to that because it will be noise and not enjoyable to listen to. But if I do multiple tracks, they're just really out of sync and they're really, really hard to get the syncing right with just pressing the button. And that's the beauty of these looper stations, is they kind of help synchronize. It's not just like you have to have impeccable, perfect timing to start and stop every loop. It kind of understands that like when you press, it's got to wait till the next kind of loop around or some percentage of the loop that you're currently in. So it kind of like almost matches it from a beat by beat perspective. And so I want to implement that. I think this will be fun. And I feel like I'm so close to having something that will be workable and fun to play with. So if you would like to see that process, I am going to take this out of V0 and into, let's say, Cursor, and I'm going to go through the process of planning this out and implementing a version that will include better synchronization, and as well as some other functionality that I think would be amazing. So yeah, if you're interested in that, comment on the video below. Let me know that you want that, and we'll go through the next stage of this build. All right, sweet. That's all. Have a good day. Thank you.